Tourism is everything. It's glam, it's glamorous, it's everything.
Why are we going to agree? Tukalime kwanza.
Then all the way to the mud and gumboots and wheelbarrows. Youth-focused NGOs are funding ideas.
Okay, okay.
They are funding ideas. You just have to pitch your idea, and they fund that idea.
My name is Mwikali, and this is the process where we talk about people's journeys, what they have been doing, the challenges they have gone through, and the way they have been able to overcome them, the battles they have fought in their lives, and they have been able to overcome, and they have a testimony. We just want to share that journey, and it's a blessing this evening to have one of the great women in this country, changing lives of women and making them realize their dreams and grow in ways which you cannot imagine. She is the founder and the executive chair of Association of Women in Agriculture in Kenya, that is AWAK. She is a builder with rich experience spanning years in the public sector and NGO world. She is an award winner. She is a founder, a former director of Women in Agriculture in the Mombasa County Government. And she also has been nominated severally in different areas. And she is now currently nominated member of the Swedish International Agriculture Network Initiatives in the steering committee. And this is Judy Matu. Judy, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Tumetafutana.
I'm telling you, but we thank God.
We thank God that we are here today. Welcome to this show, and I think, as I've said, you are one of the people I've known for quite some time now, and I feel that you have a story to share and encourage somebody. But before we begin, tell us, who is Judy?
First, it's really an honor to be here, and I am really proud of the work that you're doing, creating impact through this program. And it is such an honor to be in it. And Judy Matu is a mother. She is a leader in her own capacity, and a God-fearing woman who is determined to use her gifts and skills to transform lives, and more so women in Kenya. Yeah.
How has been your journey?
Well, Judy is, I can say, a full-rounded woman in terms of growing up, experiences, career, and all. I was born in Nyeri, Nyeri County, but then my parents moved to Nairobi when I was very young. So most of my life, growing up, school has been mostly Nairobi, and career partly Nairobi, and then that's also what brought me to Mombasa. And it's like God was calling me to Mombasa. Funny enough, in Mombasa, I worked as, I can call it casual, at Xerox, was based in the KPM. And so I would walk to work. I was living with my brother, and I was getting paid 750 shillings per week. And that was a lot of money because I was living under somebody else's roof.
You're not paying rent.
I wasn't paying rent. I think all I did with most of what I did with that money was maybe buy some appreciation gifts every Friday when we are paid, and of course buy a few dresses and you know, and something small for my daughter. Then she was very young, and I wasn't living with her then. She was living with my mother. So I needed to first stabilize before I could take her with me. And I was in Xerox for a little while. And I met this person. He was my boss in Xerox, Jacob Meza. And so when they were transitioning to open their new offices, because then Xerox was almost like closing or narrowing their business in Kenya, they opened their own enterprise. They wanted to take me on board. But at that moment, I had also interacted with a few people, some of who are at the national, the Little Theatre.
Yes.
And we were working on a small script. So my daughter had come to visit. She was very small. And we did, it was during a campaign period and there was a lot of tension. And I was wondering, we need to have a message of peace.
Yeah.
And when I shared that with the team I had just met, I was doing their photocopies because in Xerox, that's what you do. And I saw some very interesting things about art and theater, and I wanted to do more. So that's how I got to know the Little Theater guys. And I told them about this idea, and I was thinking of using my daughter as the character of a message for peace. And we did that. A very beautiful clip. I'll show you one day.
How it was?
She was hardly, I think she was one year and a few months.
Wow.
So she could walk, she could run a bit.
Yes, and she took part into it.
She did a very good job. She's a natural actress. Actually,
yeah, I've seen that.
She has a gift in theater and all that. And so we did this very nice piece clip. And one of the parties was interested in that. I wanted it to be a non-partisan kind of a clip.
Yes.
And so they asked me to go and take it to one of their offices in Nairobi. I have very little recollection of what really happened. But I don't remember getting into the offices, but I remembered submitting the clip. Well, I don't know how they used it. You know, then I didn't know much. I just thought, you just submit and things will just happen.
So it's like an idea which you gave out?
Yes.
And it never materialized after that?
No. I just have the video. I had a copy, which my daughter has seen it up to today. And so now that introduced me to several people. Because some of the people who wanted to see the clip and talk about it were actually forming a group of what was called the Pwani for Peace Initiative. And so they were like, with this peace clip, it seems you have a passion for bringing people together for peace. And that's how I found myself now in the group of the current governor, who is Abdul Somad Nasir, Mr. Karigithu, then Balala, the older Balala. There was the former minister, Anthony Njaramba, and a few others, quite a number of high-level figures. And I was just a young girl trying to, and so that's how I found myself. I was like thrown into vision. With a great vision, yes. Small girl with a great vision.
Yes.
So I was thrown into the deep sea, and I was supposed to now coordinate activities for Pwani for Peace Initiative. And that time, I'm still partly working for Jacob because they're also establishing a new project. But then this was taking too much of my attention, and I had passion for this one more.
Yes.
So I just told them, I can't work with you guys. Let me join this piece for Pwani for Peace.
So this was work, and this looked like more of a calling.
Yes, actually, it felt like I could do this for free.
Yes.
And I think I was doing it for free for some time. And I remember coordinating the biggest forum that was bringing together all the coast leaders. Then it was Coast Province. So I remember sitting with the provincial PC, provincial commissioner at that time.
Yes.
That was the highest level at a province. And now he called all the directors to his table and telling them that this is what we are planning. And so that was huge. That was huge. At first, it didn't hit me how huge it was. Until anytime I needed something and I went to a director, he would stop everything and attend to me, because that was a directive from up.
Yes.
And you know, with government, protocol is what works.
Why was peace so key at this time?
Well, this was around 2008. After the post-election violence.
Yes.
And there was chaos, and the country was really in need of peace. And so the message of peace is what everybody wanted
to hear.
Yes. And I think that is how I just found myself now immersed into this world of NGO
without thinking, without struggling.
Yes, I was just thrown there. Deep, what is it called? Like, you're taken to the deepest end of the pool, and without any swimming skills, you're supposed to find your way out.
Was it hard for you, or because of the passion, it was easy?
I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I remember being called by everybody. I could handle so many calls. And so I was working with a notebook, because people are calling me from every district and they want information. They want to know how they can come and all. And I never missed. I never forgot any. I never omitted any. And so I was so excited about what I was doing, because for the first time, it felt like I was actually doing something visible, something that is transformational, and something that really touches people. So I was very happy about that.
After every election, we are afraid of, when we are getting into elections, we are always afraid of what will happen. You've talked about you being at the center of it, especially that time when we had the post-election violence. What would be your word to everybody at any time, and the importance of peace in this country?
I think everybody should understand that there may be no Kenya without peace. They may be comfortable behind their keyboards, writing things that are very emotive and very scarring,
inciting people,
you know, inciting violence, and just saying things very carelessly without a care in the world. But they forget that they would not be that comfortable writing from somewhere with internet and a machine that is charged if this country would just get into war. Because that would mean no structures. That would mean your houses are maybe burnt or you're robbed or you're... I mean, it's just chaotic. And I would encourage Kenyans to just take time. I think we behave the way we behave because we've never experienced. We almost experienced that in 2008, but God is faithful. We never got there. But they should look at other countries that have experienced that. Those people do not entertain tribal, ethnic negativity or anything that is inciting that could bring war into that country. And so I think we should really appreciate what we have and protect it with everything that we have. That is patriotism.
This is the country we have, and we have...
the only country we have.
Fast forward. I remember meeting you in the committee of, was it Miss Tourism? Mombasa. That was the first time I met you, chairing the committee, and you did a great job.
Thank you.
What was it about?
That was another experience of being thrown into the deep sea. Now this is way after the peace things, and the initiative died after there was peace. It was not sustained. It was not. We did not really look at it in the whole long run. So it died quickly, because when there was peace, everybody went to their businesses, especially those who are really financing it. And I was finding, and I found myself now looking for a job. And I got a job.
When you left another job.
So I got a job. I was selling cars in one of the car dealerships. And I had met the Honorable Njaramba at the Peace Initiative. And then now there was this, the devolution. And now the country was in counties. And now there was Mombasa County, and there were CECs who were mentioned. And then he gave me a call and said he would like me to join him as a personal assistant. At first I was like, oh my God, okay, what does it take? I mean, government, because I had no experience.
And you'd never seen it coming.
And so he said, let's have a meeting at Blue Room. Then Mr. Karigithu, also one of the guys, he was actually the chair of the initiative.
The networks you had during the peace initiative.
He called me, and previously we had coordinated the diabetes walk. And he had called me into it, and it was very successful. And so he told me they want to establish an office in Mombasa for the diabetes management. And then the Jaramba tells me that he wants me to be his personal assistant. And so I was like, okay, so which one is which? And so I was like, I need to pray and tell God, that I make the right decision. And so I told him, whatever is the right one, let it be so evident, and let the other one just die down on its own. And that's what happened.
Okay, okay.
So
that's how you joined the county government?
So he called me and said, let's meet at Blue Room. And so we met. And he told me, now, I want you to join me. So I was like, what will it take? You don't worry, it will be okay. And I know you can handle it. So first, there's this Miss Tourism, which I want you to organize. And I was shocked. I was like, Miss Tourism, I'm not a model. I mean, I have never.
You've no idea
I have no
what
idea
it
what
entails.
Pageants entail. And he told me, no, you're not to be a model. You're supposed to manage the team and the whole event. I was like, okay, so what does it take? So he said he's going to give me some people to support. And that's how you came in. And that went, like it went very successfully.
Very successful.
We had the finals televised on live TV. And I think that was the most amazing thing. My first experience in the county government was running something, just trusting God to give me guidance.
You didn't look like you were new in it. It looked like you have been doing these things.
I can say it's the grace of God, because I had a good team. You guys were such a good team, and everybody brought in their strengths. And I think that is how we were able to pull through and carry out. In fact, it has been the most successful Miss Tourism ever.
That's
yes.
True. So you got into county government when devolution had just begun. That must have been an experience for all of you who were in the county government.
Yes. Oh, yes. So our first ministry was tourism. And that's why we were given that Miss Tourism to run. We were 3 staff. The minister.
Wow, when you were starting.
Without an office. We were sharing one desk. And so we would sit in turns.
Okay.
Depending on who is in the office at that time.
And who has to work in the office. Wale wengine watoke waende
shughuli. Yes. So, and then, you know, you've never been in government. And everybody's new, actually. And so we had to rely so much on just asking, so what is needed. I remember there's a time I needed to prepare for an imprest for the minister to go to travel. And I didn't know first, what is that? How do we do it? Where is the money? But one very good friend, Sidi, Lillian Sidi, she was very good. She was new, but she kind of understood. I think she had taken her time to just understand. And she guided me. And so I remember getting the first imprest through her guidance. And at least now I was able to know this is the finance office, this is how you go about it. Such a long process. But we finally got it.
13th January.
Yes.
Now into agriculture.
Yes.
Okay.
And here I have very depressed colleagues because they are wandering from tourism. This is Mombasa.
Yes.
Tourism is everything. It's glam, it's glamorous, it's everything.
Why are we going to agriculture? To Kalime kwanza.
Then all the way to the mud and gumboots and wheelbarrows. And they were depressed for a moment. But I remember thinking, I'm one person who, before I get depressed, or in order to avoid depression, I try to look at what can come out of this. So I was like, agriculture wapi, Mombasa wapi.
Tutalima wapi
Tutalima
Mombasa.
wapi, nani analima.
Na mulilima wapi Judy?
Sasa.
Because this is a ministry, you have to show performance.
Yes. And then we go to the ministry, so different. People there are so different from the tourism people.
Yes.
Actually, everybody in agriculture was already a government officer at national level, but then they were seconded, all of them, to the county government. So these are people who understand government and everything that is required.
Yes.
So we go there. And we don't understand anything. But now it is agriculture, livestock, and fisheries.
Yes.
So for me, I saw the potential in fisheries. Because I was like, we have the ocean. Unexploited. It is a whole resource line there. And that's when I started talking to my boss and the other colleagues and my other colleague. Remember, we were three of us.
You were three. So you just moved all of you.
Yes,
now
the three of us to agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
And we were trying to say, okay, now since there are no lands for cultivation here,
Yeah.
why don't we focus on fisheries?
Mm-hmm.
So you're thinking fisheries maybe is the biggest, is a low-hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but now we had to understand, sit there and be told what agriculture is all about. Now, agriculture is a science. So there's a lot of jargon.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of times you would be like, in English, please, you know, because they're telling you things and you're like, what are those?
Sikuziona kwa agriculture class.
You know? Yeah. But we quickly blended in.
Yeah.
Acclimatized and started looking at the opportunities that we can create, the changes that we can bring on board.
Mm-hmm.
So we built a boat. We were given a loan by KCB and built a 10,000 tons boat, very big boat. It was, by then for me, that was surreal. Seeing a boat being built from scratch into something.
In Mombasa.
Yes, it was built from scratch with fiber. So it was so beautiful to see it. I remember during the agricultural show, the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, was amazed. It was like, this thing was built. It was a huge thing. A 10-ton boat is it had bedrooms, it had everything. It was really nice to see.
So the boat was to be used to go to the deep seas?
Yes, by the fishermen. And they were grouped into a management something. But then I quickly left the active engagement at that point.
Okay.
And somebody else took over.
You are former director of women in agriculture in the county. Was it something which was in existence?
No.
Or it's something you formed?
So now, you see, in the process of trying to understand what it is we can do in the county, in the Ministry of Agriculture.
Align yourself.
Yes, align ourselves. Just before we left tourism, I was in the process of thinking how we can come up with a women in tourism, something, just something that is going to benefit benefit the women in the tourism sector. But I had hardly even thought through it when we found ourselves in the Ministry of Agriculture. And so there was, of course, the shock, and now starting to get used, to learn, to understand things. And then I thought about it again, because when we were going through the votes and through the budgets that come, there was a fund that used to go back to Treasury every time. And this was about gender mainstreaming and everything around gender. And I wondered why. And I was told, probably because there's no one, or there's the interest or something.
There's no interest.
Yeah, and so I approached my boss and asked, is this something I can do? And he said, fine. And so I became the director for women in agriculture. I was able to do a few activities for the women. Then in that process, there are times I would send requisitions for a certain project. But then, you know, government has this long red tapes, the bureaucracy. Sometimes it will take months to be approved. And if it was meant for a certain period, then it has been overtaken by time. And I started thinking about, what about an independent body that would actually do these things without all these hurdles and curtailing the progress. And I remember asking, if I would register an association, would it be a conflict of interest? And I was told no.
Okay.
And that is how I registered the Association of Women in Agriculture, Kenya.
Now what you're talking about.
Now what we are talking about.
Now, before we get out of the county government, one thing you've said is that money can go back because we have no interested people.
Yeah, it's not it's unutilized.
It's unutilized, and it's meant for the people.
Yes.
Why would that happen?
Many things.
Is it that the community does not have the information of what is available for them, or even the people in leadership, they do not involve the people to understand that there is this money allocated for you? Because I've had, apart from now, the department you're talking about, I've had so many times pesa zimerudishwa. And unashangaa, kuna so many projects which have not been done. Why has money been returned back to the treasury?
The lack of awareness now when it comes to the public. How much do they know of what is available for them?
Yes.
How much do they allow themselves to be part of that process?
As somebody who has worked in the government, whose responsibility is that?
To inform the public.
To inform the public. Is it the public which is becoming ignorant of what they are entitled to, or is it the government offices which are not giving the information?
I think it's both ways. One, the government should do much more to inform the public on their public participations, so that before they even come up with that budget, they have involved the public. The public should have the that a proactive kind of way of doing things with the government. You should be interested to know what does the government, what is it planning
for us? Yeah.
Not even available. You're the one who determines what should be available.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yes, because every county has a budget, but there's a public participation process before that budget is finalized, where they get all the views from the public asking, what is your priority? Do you want water? Do you want health? Or is it education? Or is it capacity building? Whatever, as the public. And then, of course, they get so many, so they will now choose what is a priority. But you need now to follow up and find out what was prioritized. Was your idea prioritized? So that is the process we normally take women through to understand the budget cycle of the government, from the public participation to implementation to assessment. Because now, even after the allocation, did that money really go to where you guys wanted it to go? That is now that comes under the assessment.
Where are these public participation announced?
They are usually announced on public forums. It is a mandatory.
Around this is a chief, Ama?
It is in newspapers, it's on radios, it's on... they try to make it as public as possible. Even if you go to the chief, you're supposed to know which public participation is upcoming and where will it be. They even supposed to say this hall, this ward here at this time. So that you as a member, a resident of this place is called Ziwalangombe ward, you know that Ziwalangombe has a public participation for the budget on this such and such a day in such a hall. It's free. All you need to do is go. But then you'll find people saying we don't have fare to go. Or others will be saying, this is government. Mambo ya government, I don't need to be involved.
They will make their decision.
I'm sure even if we go there, they'll still do whatever they want. And so that's the attitude.
Do the Mwananchi voice ever get to be heard, even in these forums?
Let me say it should. Ideally, it should. Because this is a public document. This is your money. It is the taxes that you pay, the taxes that we are being taxed every day, especially now. That's the money you're supposed to be planning for. So you should not wait for somebody who is actually being paid with that taxpayer's money to be the one making decisions on how your money is going to be spent. Wow. So there needs to be a lot of public awareness, a lot of it, for people to understand that this is an important process. Because if I go alone and into a room of 1,000 people, I may not get the chance to speak. And even if I speak, my idea may go very, it can fizzle very fast. But if I mobilize my neighbors, my community, other women, and we go like 500 of us, they cannot ignore that voice. And you have to be strategic. So you have to sit. If there are 10 rows, munajipanga you so that if I raise an issue, they say we are supporting it. Those ones, it has to have, you have to be strategic in this kind of forums.
So our failure is failing to go to those forums, and I would wish to know from our viewers how many people have been participating in these forums, because it's very important.
It's very important, yes.
Number two, we have to be strategic. We must have thought it's not an individual idea. It should be a collective idea for it to go through. Now, let's come to AWAK. Association of Women in Agriculture was born.
Yes, that was in 2015, the year 2015.
How has been the journey?
Wow. The journey. You see, when I was seated in that government office, thinking about all the opportunities out there, because these ones are delaying the process. And I thought, now I have the network, I know who to talk to, how to talk to them.
You almost know every office.
Yeah. I had really tried to, the network that the county gave me was really good, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity. And in fact, those are the people I was seeking for advice, like, what should I do? How should we do this? And after registration, once my term ended, because I was a contracted worker, once the term ended, I did not renew. So I was out, and I know what exactly I want to do.
Have
a
way of...
very straight way.
But haujatoka ukiwa hujajipanga.
I was very ready here.
Okay.
So, yes. And getting out there now, and now this is AWAK, I realized things are different. They say kwa ground mambo ni tofauti. So reality hits, and I realized it doesn't just work that way. You don't just move from here and get elevated to this one. No, you start from scratch and work your way up.
This one had structures, it had been worked on, it was supported by government. Everything was ready for you. This other one, you have to work it out.
You have to work it out. From an idea, you have to bring it to fruition. You have to bring it to reality. And that was actually one of the shockers of building AWAK. I remember when I got my gratuity from the county, I used it there, and I was like, this is what I'll use to establish, do startup. 1 and 2 startup. And you are spending the last coin of your gratuity and thinking, what now? Okay, the money hasn't come. And then I say...
So the expectation is that after you put that as a seed capital, like immediately things have to work.
Things have to work. But that's not the case. And then I decide, now what do? I have no money. I do not have a job that is bringing in some end of month income. So I have to think, okay, I have a car. Let me dispose the car, put the money in the AWAK and start building. And I do that. And now we are getting to the end of the car money. And now you're thinking, what now?
Nothing is happening.
You have gone to you have knocked on every door. You have really tried all the skills, on marketing and selling yourself. And I remember, then my parents are now chipping in. And they're telling me, why don't you get a job and let this be a side hustle?
Ijipe tu siku yake ikifika.
Yeah, but no, I want to make this work.
You never thought of going back to employment?
I would think about it, but it never won in my mind. It never won because I thought there's a chance. There's still a fighting chance in this one. So from June to the end of December, I was struggling to the whole of 2018, almost end actually, is when now we had our first activity in 2018. And it was really, it was an eye-opener. It was very encouraging.
So this time when you are out of the county and when you are, before now the breakthrough, the first breakthrough, you've sold your car, you've used your gratuity. How are you surviving?
I am surviving by the grace of God. I am so behind in my rent. I am so behind in school fees. I am so behind in everything. You're barely surviving, but you're still hanging there. And I think that's when my parents would say, just get a job. Especially my mom. But I still hang in there.
Moms would always be there.
Yeah, I still hang in there. She's still the one who's sending some money, we buy food. I would not, of course, ask her for money for rent, but at least she'd send 500 or something, and we eat today. But
with the hope tomorrow something will come up.
Yes. And something actually finally did. So I would say persistence and faith and prayer, believing in something, because I would have easily given up.
Yeah. Okay, maybe to get back to what AWAK is, what it does. Yes, I think that's important for us to know. Yes.
Oh yeah, so AWAK, the Association of Women in Agriculture Kenya, is an organization, it's a national organization that focuses on building the capacity of small-scale women in agriculture, both rural and urban. So for the rural, it's the small-scale farmers, and for the urban, it's vulnerable women living in the informal settlements, the slums. And we are building their capacity on 4 key areas. That is food security and nutrition, climate action and climate justice, women economic empowerment, and advocacy. Yeah.
Okay.
So all our activities are aligned within those 4 key areas. So God has been good. From the first time now we started opening, and then people could see what we are doing, because most of the donors want to see what is happening on the ground.
Yeah.
I think very few people will believe an idea, and I wish that can change, because young people coming on board, they have nothing to show.
Yes, but they have an idea.
But they have beautiful ideas. I think maybe there should be a level of incubation and mentorship where they just support these ideas to grow in a small way. I think that would really be nice. And now, because of that platform that we got and the belief that we got from UAF, we were able now to showcase exactly what it is we can do. And I think since then we've been growing, and I'm grateful to where we are now.
How many members so far?
Wow, I think we have more than 150,000 across the country.
Okay.
We started with 35 women. Yes. And we have grown in leaps and bounds. All glory to God.
150,000.
Yes, more than, yes.
So what are some of the activities you're involved on ground with the women?
Okay. So in the rural areas, where we are focusing on climate action, food security, and women economic empowerment, we are doing land restoration through agroforestry. We're also doing climate smart agriculture trainings. Recently, we've partnered with ICRISAT on a World Bank funded program, ICRA, where we are training women on drought tolerant crops. And then we've been given an opportunity to talk about gender and climate change, because that is our area of experience.
Yes.
We are also doing something we call WeCare, which is addressing unpaid care, because unpaid care, which is the care given by caregivers that is not paid for. Like, I have a child. When I take care of that child, when I take care of my husband, when I take care of a sick person in my house, nobody pays me for that. So, but it's care. So it's called unpaid care.
Okay.
How can we reduce that so that we are able to empower these women? Because that woman is not able to, she wants to be empowered, but she doesn't have the time.
So now let me just put AWAK on the place, what it's doing. Now, we have this woman who goes for 10 kilometers. And she goes for the 10 kilometers because there's no water. So how are you bridging that gap with the government?
So, public participation.
Okay.
So we are working, remember these are our small scale women that we are working with in the rural areas. They're in groups, individuals, it doesn't matter. So we build their capacity to understand that it is their role to influence the government
to bring
water. In fact, we do something called a rapid care analysis, where they are supposed to list the issues. What are your priority issues? So they'll say water, they'll say health, they'll say education, they'll say many things. But let's work with at least one for now, the priority, with majority. So if it's water, what do? We write memos and we teach them how to do it. We don't do it for them. It's important they learn how to do it. They write memos indicating what they want the government to do for them, and they sign. Then they take it to the relevant department. So for us, we are able to help them now bring the directors together, and they're able to hand deliver this.
Okay.
So with that, first, you know that that message has gotten to the relevant department.
Yeah.
Then we tell them about the budget processes. That since this is your priority issue, make sure that the budget also makes this a priority. Not you alone, mobilize everyone around you. And you make them understand the importance of numbers.
Yes.
If you go alone, nobody is going to listen to you.
Yes.
But if you go all of you,
a whole village.
Yes, alafu you already have a memo that has maybe 10, 100 or whatever signatures.
And also you're giving a solution. You're not just only showing a problem.
Yes.
You are giving what you want to be done.
Yes, we want water.
Yes.
We want water. Then the government will say, fine, we can't bring tap water, but we can dig a well or we can dig a whatever. So a success story is like Kitui. We did that with Kitui. And the current governor has committed to dig 60 sand dams in each and every ward in Kitui County.
Okay.
So their work is to make sure that happens.
With this case scenario, just take us through in like 2-3 minutes, how you are able to get to that point. Because I think mobilization, yes, guys can choose to mobilize themselves, but now that process to bring it to success, because many a times people give up along the way. Maybe just briefly to explain, what AWAK, the involvement of AWAK, and the steps the women were able to take.
So as AWAK, because we are a big platform, so that gives us an easier way to make like appointments with these people for them.
Yes.
But even if we were not there, we have given them enough training to learn how to go to those offices. You know, you have to first make them know that you are the bosses for these offices. You're the ones who may sustain these people in office, so they need to work for you.
What are some of the challenges you've faced while getting into these counties and in recruitment?
The challenges are not in the counties per se. I think what the main challenge could be resources. Like if we had more resources, we'd do much more. But we work with what we have. Maybe most of the initial challenge is usually the language barrier. So we always have to get a champion that is a local. Because now that it becomes even easier for them to trust us when we are working with one of their own who can speak their language, understands them, and you know, that becomes much easier. But we haven't faced any hostility. We haven't, in fact, all of them have been very welcoming. So far, we thank God.
And ready to be assisted.
Very ready.
One of the challenges, most of the young people, they have great ideas, great ideas. But the issue is funding. How does somebody get there?
You heard my story? You heard my story? It is the Kizungu Mkuti.
Yes.
So that, I think that's the hardest challenge. But I think things are getting easier. There's a lot of funding for young people.
Okay.
And
even from the government.
Even from the government, but wachana na government. In the NGO world.
Yes.
Because people have I think people like me and others who really struggled when they were younger.
Yes.
You realize that nobody believes you unless you have something to show. And you have nothing to show as when you're at the ideation stage. And so they will, this upcoming and these youth-focused NGOs are funding ideas.
Okay.
They are funding ideas. You just have to pitch your idea. And they fund that idea. But they handhold you also because they also understand you're new in the implementation stage.
Yes.
So they handhold you, and they are really doing a lot. In fact, there are so many young people coming up.
So which are these offices they're supposed to know? Like,
they have to be willing to really go through the internet and NGO funding, youth funding. Like if you just Google youth funding, I am sure you'll have a whole list of organizations that are funding the youth. The UN has a lot of funding for the youth. And then it also depends on what is it they're doing, because there is tech, there is creatives, there is finance, there's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, so it depends also on the area of interest. Yeah.
So you have to seek information.
Yeah, and I would say if you're interested in something, don't just sit there and wait. Go for it.
Haitakuja.
Haitakuja. And you have to really be willing to be patient.
Yeah.
And you need to persevere and pray. God opens doors that man cannot open.
Amen.
Just pray, trust God, and then believe in your idea.
Yes.
Even if somebody tries to, because most people will be like, are you sure? Grand ideas. Please.
See Kenya.
See Kenya. But just believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And see yourself in that finished product. That will motivate you.
This year, Judy, I think I cannot count how many times I've seen you out of this country and in so many other areas, doing a lot of things and getting so many awards.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, you have been away for like 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
Just to mention those 2 weeks, what has been happening?
Okay, the most recent travel, I was in Dar es Salaam. We were participating in the AGRF, which is the Africa Food System Summit. It's one of the biggest summits for food systems that brings not just Africa, but people from all over the world. And I was participating there on two hats. One, I was a moderator of one of the sessions by a funder. In fact, they looked for me and they were like, please come and be a panelist or a moderator. They were proposing a moderator.
Siku hizi unatafutwa.
Sini Mungu. Ni God maze.
Ni God maze.
So, yeah, so I moderated their session.
Yeah.
And then that was on a Monday morning. And then I was also a judge for the WIRE 2023. WIRE is the Women Agripreneur of the Year Award, which is like a continental award. So as a judge, this is my second time. I was a judge in 2021 and now in 2023.
There's so many awards. Which is the latest?
The latest award is the best.
Yes.
That was the Maputo Protocol at 20, because this is an Africa award, because Maputo is under AU, Africa Union. And AWAK got the winner for women economic empowerment. Thank you.
Congratulations. That is huge.
I know. I could not believe it. You know, they had brought all these people from, we were having it in Nairobi, and they were bringing all the first, the winner and the finalist, the winner and the finalist. So in our category, I saw the finalist.
Yes.
So when I Googled, I was like, oh, we are getting first runners up.
Imeisha.
And then she says, and the winner is, that was Janet Mbugwa.
Yeah.
And the winner is Association. Oh my God, you should have seen me. I was like, wow. So,
where are you seeing AWAK in the next 5 years?
Wow, in the next 5 years, I am seeing AWAK owning their own place that is going to be a center of, it's called a center of excellence, where we have our own demo spaces, where we have our own incubation centers, because right now we have to rely on hiring halls out there to go and train. But here we are, when we have our own space, we're able to come up with an incubation center where after training, they can come and practice their skills, they can bake their cakes there and sell and pay just something small for maintenance. And or any other thing that will be training. I see AWAK in at least 37 counties.
Wow. In the next 5 years.
In the next 5 years, it's possible. If you walk into my office, I have written there, nothing is impossible. This journey has trained me that nothing is impossible. I also see us having a bigger team, a much bigger team, and having much more established offices outside here.
Wow, that's great. As we conclude, maybe to ask, how do you become a member of AWAK? Is it open to every person, or it's limited to a certain kind of people?
Our focus is the small-scale women in agriculture and vulnerable members, vulnerable women in the urban informal settlements, so that those are the people we give first priority. However, you can become a friend of AWAK if you have something to bring to the table. Like we work with people who can train on mental health, people who are experts in something. So those ones can join as friends of AWAK. Yes.
Yeah, I just want you to look into that camera and encourage somebody who they have an idea, they have struggled. I think we have talked about it in some of the parts, but I just want you to encourage somebody on what they need to do. Just your last words on somebody who really has an idea, who is focused, who is willing, who has maybe knocked those doors as you knocked, but they are almost giving up.
So, one, your idea is valid, but you cannot give up. You have to keep knocking, because you might be giving up when you're just about to knock the last door that will open a very big wall, I mean a very big entry, maybe a gate for your breakthrough. Don't give up. Keep knocking. More importantly, just keep praying for God to guide you to go to the right people so that it's divine connection. Also, talk to people, especially within that field that you want to pursue. They may have ideas, they may have connections, you never know. Sometimes we are so scared of sharing our ideas, but also be careful who you're sharing your ideas with. Look for mentors. Those are very important people. And above all, I wish you all the best. It is possible.
It has been a journey, and we can see the results. We can see the results. I can attest to the goodness of the Lord. And I will say, as Judy has said, put it to God in prayer. I think I can attest this is an idea which has been prayed for.
Amen.
Seriously prayed for and committed to the cause. May the Lord bless you. Have a great time. I believe that you've learned something. Have a gracious evening. Shalom.